Ready to design the home you've always imagined? Sarandis will help you realise that dream. An award-winning premier building and home design firm based in Perth, Sarandis will make your journey their inspiration from your very first personalised consultation and craft you a bespoke home that's tailored to your lifestyle, vision and dreams. Visit sarandis.com.au to be inspired. Sarandis, proud sponsors of the Ouzo Talk podcast. Crazy Productions presents Thanasis Vasilakos and Master Tempo, direct from Greece, live in Sydney for a massive 4-hour show on Friday, 16th of May at Canterbury Hurlstone Park RSL Club. Tickets are selling fast. Call 0418 451 481 to book today. There's no Ouzo Talk without a bottle of Ouzo, which is why we love the Greek Providor. Get a real taste of the very best produce that Greece has to offer. From olive oils and delicious artisan sweets to unique spirits, earthy herbs and memorable wines. Visit thegreekprovidor.com.au to see their amazing range. The Greek Providor, proud sponsors of the Ouzo Talk podcast.
Welcome to another episode of what we're calling Ouzo Shots, ladies and gents. I am Tom Skolarikis, and with me as always is the great Nick Athanasiou. Welcome, mate.
Hello, everyone. How are you, Tom?
I'm going well, mate.
What a day, mate.
What a day, and what a day to be alive, because we've also got, aside from the actual story that we're here to talk about, we have two amazing guests with us who don't just love football globally. One of them has had a little bit to do with football in Australia. He is the voice of Australian football.
I'm the only one alive from that generation.
He's the only one left.
Last man standing. So, without any further ado, the great Andy Paschalidis. Welcome.
I'm loving being here because Locascio and I are playing wing backs. Is that how you set up?
That's it.
The two centre backs. Vicario, where are you, Vicario?
You guys have got to do all the running.
No, we're playing Ange ball. We're inverted fullbacks. That's right. We're actually going to take the spotlight from you guys. We're going to step in the way.
Please do. I'm all for that. We can just sit back, have a few extra drinks, and we're fine.
But the Ouzo's going, well, look, you know the standout for me today?
What's that?
Was seeing a very humble, proud manager stand away from his players during the celebration.
That's very true.
Very humble.
Respectful.
And saying, you know what, boys, this is about you.
Absolutely.
It's not about me. Yeah. It's always been about them.
Absolutely.
Not him. And that journo that called that banner headline, The Clown, who's got the last laugh now?
100%.
I also really appreciated, I don't know if you saw the clip where he went up to all of the Manchester United players individually, and he was consoling them, and you could see that he was being really warm. I saw him go up to Casemiro and he whispered in his ear, he said, "Suck my fucking dick."
And on that note, that's a great way to introduce Anthony Locascio, ladies and gents. Welcome back.
How are ya? Can't stay away.
Local football resident.
That's it. Good to have you too, mates. Big day for mates. Big day for Wogs. Big day for Aussies. Big day for...
That's it.
Hello there, Anthony. You know what WOG stands for? Well-organised Greeks.
Hello. Yeah, there it is. I knew the joke was coming.
We're WOGs.
I love it.
Well, what do you reckon? It should be a public holiday in Melbourne today, or all of Australia? What do you reckon?
That's one for you.
Marrickville first. Athens, Melbourne, you name it. Look, you know what he's done. Wherever he goes, first Aussie to do this, first Aussie to do this, first Aussie and of Greek background, Greek born. And a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of Anglos, they're like, oh, is he Greek? Is he... Mate, like me, born in Australia, proud of my heritage, always honouring my background.
Yeah.
He did it in the reverse. He came here as a kid. He did what I did as a kid, like so many of us did as a kid. Our dad would take us to the football. Like for me, as you know, my choice was either Greek school or start playing football. And my dad gave me that choice, which is very rare. And in Ange's case, he's always been respectful of that journey.
Yeah.
Look, I totally agree with the sentiment that Andy's posing right now, but I will make one clarification because I saw something that pissed me off. Uh-oh. So I won't say who it is, because I don't want to do that anymore. But I saw an American Greek publication saying Greek football coach wins. First Greek football coach. They left out the Aussie.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
no, that's wrong.
Now, the amount of Aussie pride that this guy shows in every single interview. Every third word is mate.
Yeah.
Mate.
You don't get to claim him Chicago, buddy. He's not yours, he's ours, okay?
Greek Australian, buddy. Back up.
100%.
So we're as proud as we are that he is, like you said before, Tom, he made a real distinct effort when the guy said you're going to be the first Aussie. He said I'm the first Greek born as well.
Went to great lengths to do that.
Obviously very proud. I think his mum lives in Greece now. I think his sister lives in Greece now. So it exudes from him.
His son's done the military service as well.
There you go. There you go.
I think just to set the scene here, for those of you who've been living under a rock for the last 12 hours, Tottenham Hotspur just beat Manchester United in the Europa Cup, which is the second level from the Champions League.
1-0.
But still, it's a European trophy. Tottenham, when was the last time Tottenham won? 1984, they won a European championship.
That's the last European title, and then the last title of any kind that they won was 2008.
Which was a League Cup. It's the Carabao Cup.
And you know what? It doesn't matter how they played, what system he had in place. They talk about how Mourinho used to park the bus. I'll tell you what. Mourinho, you've got to watch how Ange Postecoglou parked the bus today. And he did it very, very smartly and wisely. And there was a couple of times I thought on the counter-attack they might have got something out of it. But credit to Ange, he's copped a lot of flack, unnecessary flack. Yes, it has been a shit Premier League campaign. But he made a decision months ago. My focus is winning that trophy, getting that monkey off their back. Judge me after it.
And it's a good trophy.
Does he stay? Does he stay? Does he go? Do other clubs want to approach him? What about a payout, given he's got a long-term deal?
What does it mean? What does that mean now? Okay, so he's taken the trophy. He delivered on his promise, and boy, did he deliver on it. I mean, he was categorical in the
classic Greek way of delivering.
It was.
I won't do it this week. I'll do it next week. Give me the second year, and I'll give it to you.
He said from the very beginning, he goes, "My second year, I'll deliver something." He has now. There's been this cloud over his head for the last how long's it been now? Almost a year. What does it actually mean? Does he do the mic drop now and say, "I delivered. Now I'm leaving"?
Ask Anthony, if you're performing at the biggest theatres in the world, do you walk away from that biggest theatre and try another one, or do you keep going?
I mean, I think the comparison is apt, but also different. No, we always got to leave them wanting more. But I think that Ange is in a tough spot now because they still might sack him. There's every possibility they might do that.
But the money will come to rebuild the squad now because
100% in the Champions League. So and not only will the money come to rebuild the squad, but now you're not going to have all of the top players' agents in their ears saying, "You need to get out of here. You're not in the Champions League. This club isn't big enough for you. We got to take Mickey van der Ven and Romero away." All of a sudden, these guys can stay.
That's right.
And then the money can be used to rebuild the squad. However, do Spurs, who are owned and run by a guy who is a bit of a fucking idiot, do they say, well, yes, we won the cup, but we need to build a sustainable league team. We need to have a team that can actually compete to make the Champions League by coming in the top four. Maybe we look elsewhere. Availability is quite thin. Who are they going to get in to replace him?
Yeah.
But then where does he go instead is the bigger question.
There was something cryptic in the presser where he talks about how Tottenham have always got the top managers and then they got Ange. It's almost like he's saying, well, I wasn't your first choice, but you had to get me because you needed someone quickly 2 years ago. He's proven his point. He's done what he promised. Is he going to be solely judged on a premiership? Well, you may as well sack the Man United coach. You may as well sack the West Ham coach. You may as well sack the Tottenham coach and so on and so forth. Anyone down that bottom rung just above the relegation zone. I think he would probably want to stay to address the Premier League form this season. And the obvious thing for him is we're going into the Champions League with Tottenham as against Champions League with Celtic, where there's a greater chance of advancing beyond the group stage. That's what he'd be thinking.
What happens now, though, if Tottenham's powers that be decide, you know what, see you later, we're sacking you?
Well,
What do you think
obviously his market is a lot bigger than had they lost this morning. But I think he's in a precarious position if they do decide to sack him, which you never know. You never know. It would be very quote unquote Spursy for them to do that. It would be very quote unquote Spursy for them to keep him. It's just what they do.
It's like anything too. Like if they lost this morning,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be doing this podcast.
No.
Oh, probably. Who knows? But look, if they do sack him,
I'd be on the Portuguese one I'm talking about. My boy.
okay. So if they do sack him for whatever reason,
Yeah.
what do you think his next step is? Where would he go? Just give us your. I know it hasn't happened. It's just your opinion. What do you think would be a smart move by Ange? Would he leave Europe? We heard there's
No,
the
he
Greek-
can't now.
He can't.
Now there's a scope for him to actually illustrate that he is one of the best managers in the world, which I firmly believe that he is. If you look at his CV, to be able to go South Melbourne, A-League, international stage with Australia and win our very first Asian Cup, Japan, Celtic, and now the Premier League. The guy can do it anywhere.
He's got the Midas touch.
He's got the Midas
and
touch.
success comes quickly with him.
Every
It's not like
second,
some managers were given 4, 5, 6 years to perform and achieve. He seems to hit the ground running wherever he goes. It might take 12, 24 months, but he delivers. My gut feeling is that does he want to deal with 140, 160, 180 press conferences a year and be under the spotlight like that in the scrutiny? You could tell that there were times where it was really hurting him inside, but he's very diplomatic. Do Italian clubs chase him? Do Spanish clubs chase him? Do German clubs chase him?
I can't see it happening. I can't see any of those.
No.
Yeah, the German media, the Italian media, 100%, and the Spanish media, they live in a bubble. Yes, this guy went and won the Europa League, but who is he? We don't know anything about him. We look at his CV. We don't know anything. He doesn't speak any of those languages. He doesn't have any experience in those countries. None of those clubs are going to look at him. And from his perspective, if Spurs do sack him, all right, what happens next? You perhaps look within the Premier League, but as Andy points out, he doesn't love the rigmarole. Like it's the most intense job in the world. Absolutely. Where do you go that's more upwardly mobile than Spurs right now? The only club that I can really, it's a wild shot, but United.
Man United.
Yeah.
I thought that this morning as well. Do they keep the United coach, who's half decent, but he got it wrong today?
He's been half decent previously, but I don't think he's shown anything since being at United that would indicate that he's worth it. Now, they'll probably keep him on because he signed a long-term contract. They haven't really given him any transfer windows to sign his kind of players. He's young. He's proven it before. They probably won't, but if they do, that's theoretically a bigger job than Tottenham is.
I'm going to be very interested to see how the press now reacts to Ange over the next few days, and perhaps more significantly, the fans. They started to turn against him. The problem for Ange always was the first 3 months in England. He raised the bar that high. There's only really one way to go. It's very hard to maintain that level of spectacular performances. When injuries start happening and your squad's thinning out and you're playing 55, 60 games a season. See, I thought the Carabao Cup might have been the one that he would have got. But
one thing that I hadn't really considered until this moment, but I'm sure it's going to play on the mind of because it's not just Daniel Levy that makes the trigger pulling decisions at Tottenham. There's a whole team of people going on, and they do consider things like marketability, things like global economics, things like that. Ange's box office. The guy said in October, I win. And he did.
Yes, he
and
did.
now, like we were talking about before, Andy, before we got on, I think my whole feed today is Ange.
It is.
It really is.
And it's not just because I live in a WOG echo chamber. Like it's a thing that happened.
You do that.
I do a little bit on purpose. I hide my people. No one touch me. Fox Sports gave coverage of the football.
All over the place.
Fox Sports. Since when? I've never seen Fox Sports give coverage of football ever. And the guy's talking about it like. The guy was talking about the dummy half. I'm like, you get to stay in your lane, buddy. You don't know what you're talking about.
You know the buzz of this, right? It almost reminds me of what happened 21 years ago. about a kilometre up the road.
Yes.
When I was hosting 10,000 passionate Greek supporters when we lifted the impossible. It almost has that feel about it without the celebration of a mass. But what's good about it for me, and I'm a diehard West Ham fan, the first team I ever saw in 1971, and I've stuck true to them. But all of us that are non-Tottenham fans, we're actually fans of Ange, but we want Tottenham to do well.
Yes,
and they
that's
did.
true.
So we're actual Ange fans, and I became an Ange fan when I first met him in a South Melbourne Hellas dressing room. And what stood out to me, I was given a free license to do my thing. I remember Les Murray telling me, Andy, they love you, just go out and do your thing. So I used to muck around with the players before games, did Malakia interviews. Yeah. One guy was having a piss in the toilet. I was interviewing Bernie Mariani before the game. No one knew he was pissing while I was talking to him. All that sort of schmucky, stupid shit that people loved. Yeah. But whenever I was in a South Melbourne dressing room having fun with Tsalakis or Jurakovic or any of those guys, right, I used to see a gaze from Postecoglou. It was like, I know we need you to do your thing, but I don't really fucking want you in here when I'm trying to focus on a game here as captain of this team. I've never had that conversation with him. We've always done well. I did a really good interview with him after he won the Asian Cup. So there's always been that mutual respect. But then I step back and I look at it and I think he was that focused as a young man. He's mapped out his life on the way he wants to play. And then he wanted to evolve into managing. He sat next to Frank Garrick, then took over from Frank, obviously, and it kept going. Career. So he's a visionary, not just an incredible coach. But the greatest speech you'll ever hear was before that Asian Cup one. And that's been doing the social rounds today. And then the other flip side interview.
The one that he did for Spurs after they beat Bodo Glimt was also was up there.
That was magic.
But this is exactly my point, Andy, right? All of the Spurs won their first trophy for how knows how fucking long.
Did you see the Micah Richards one post game with Roy Keane?
Of course.
Now, Micah Richards, but he makes a reference to Joe Hart, and Joe Hart, when he was managed by Ange, Celtic. He pretty much said that you're the best manager I've had. And this Joe Hart has had some massive managers.
Absolutely.
So it just shows you that sort of domino effect, the impact that he has.
And so this is the thing, right? All day today, it's Ange, history, blah, 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 this, and this. Yeah. A little bit of Son Heung-min, a little bit of Spurs ended their drought, a little bit of James Maddison. Roy Keane made fun of him for the darts, and now he said, shove it up your ass to Roy Keane, and Roy Keane laughed. But the prevailing thing is Ange, which doesn't ordinarily happen when a team wins a tournament like this. No. Tottenham are going to know that and going to know that if we keep this guy around, like the entire world is galvanised around this person, especially Australia, especially Greek Australians.
That's a great call. That's a massive point. You know why? Because when you think of these big games, it's always about that star player, that man of the match that we'd be talking about. I can't think of a man of the match.
We don't give a fuck what happened in the game. We don't give a fuck.
The man of the match was on the bench.
That was the worst goal I've ever seen in my life to win a tournament.
Was it an own goal?
I was going to say, I reckon it was an OG. I reckon it
could have been an OG.
You know, if you were Brendan Johnson, you'd have to say that it was. You'd say it was an OG because you didn't do anything, buddy. You know what I mean?
You know what I did? Straight after the game, I was trying to find Manny Anazakis' number, and for whatever reason, it's not in my phone anymore. And I thought I'll leave Chris Nico alone, the former chairman of Football Australia. They went to uni, and Manny was at South Melbourne when his dad was president and whatnot. So I look up and I go, Mile Jedinak, he'll love this. So I sent him a little note saying, congratulations, the doubters are out the door. Congratulations to you and the backroom staff that we don't really see much of, and the work that you do with Ange behind the scenes. And then I started taking screenshots off the TV, cutting them up, and there's a great one of Jedinak and him celebrating. So I'm emailing him all this stuff, and I get a message back. Thanks. I thought, in amongst a million things that you've got to do right now. But I'm just inspired by Ange. I think, 100%. You know, if Ange quit football management, he'd be, as a public speaker, he could retire on that alone.
I always thought, could he coach a rugby league team? What do you think about that?
Well, I know. I can tell you.
He'd be more AFL. He loves footy.
Yeah.
He's
but just he gets the best out of the players. He's a great manager.
I can tell you that rugby league coaches have met with him before to sort of get inside under the hood. I know firsthand that they met with him and actually tried to get a lot out of him. But just to sort of start wrapping this up, well, let's talk quickly about the longest of long shots in this scenario. Does Ange Postecoglou end up in Greece, either coaching AEK or the national side any time soon?
AEK, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Because that's where he wants to be.
You know, I did a comedy show. I did a week in New York, as we've spoken about earlier this year, and then I had to come back and do Harpoon Harry's at Surrey Hills for 15 people on a Monday night. That would be like Ange going to AEK at this point.
Harpoon Harry's not bad, man.
It's not bad. AEK's not bad either. It's not
anything after the Premier League.
It's not Bunny-Onio. It's not like the Bayview in Gladesville like I did last night. Let's not talk about that.
Bayview.
Yeah, rough. Anyway.
I'm sensing a bomb here.
Woody. Look, it wasn't.
What do you think?
I think the Greek national team is obviously a great landing spot.
Yes.
However, they have absolutely no reason to dispense with the coach that they have right now.
That's true.
And they're doing well.
They're doing well. They've got possibly the best crop of players that Greece has ever had coming through and already at that top level.
They're about 2-3 years away. They're still young, 17.
Some of them, yes,
kids.
but some of them now are in their mid-20s and they're top class.
Yeah.
So I don't think so. As for his potential landing spot, if he leaves Spurs, it's tough. I don't know where he goes.
I think eventually I think he'll live and settle in Greece.
Yeah, he said that.
I think he
wants
will
to retire there.
And if that was the case, and he's finished his managerial run in the next 5 or 10 years, I think the value add for anyone, if I was at the Greek FA, is just to bring him in as a consultant advisor to all the national coaches from the young levels all the way to the senior levels. And that would be a part-time thing that he'd still have that involvement in football. He'll still be able to go to Mykonos and Santorini and have a nice holiday.
I don't think he's going to want to do that, though.
He's not
I don't get the sense that he wants to do that yet.
Too much
He's
of
possessed. I think he'll do the flip.
5 years
He'll
away.
do that. He might come in for 20 days and go, I'll relax. No, I'm not gonna relax.
There's
But
no
we'll
relaxing.
we'll know that he's long for Greece when he starts, instead of at the end of the press conferences, instead of going, it's just who we are, mate. When he starts, instead of doing that, when he starts going, akure file.
That's coming.
You know what I want to know? I want to know, out of the last 24 hours, and I watched the press conference, Ange said, I'm going to go back to my room with my family. I'm going to get a bottle of scotch, have a couple of quiet ones.
Brilliant.
What sort of scotch does he like? Because we should send him a bottle.
That's a great question. Well, whatever it is.
What scotch do you like, mate?
Get in touch with
Single
us.
malt, Japanese, you call it.
That's a great segue. Let's raise a glass. Here's to the great Ange Postecoglou. Well done, mate.
Theo
Congratulations.
But
Theo
Ange.
Ange, not
Cheers,
those.
Theo
In
Ange.
Yamas,
Ange,
mate.
Theo Ange.
in Ange we trust.
In Ange we
Well done,
trust.
Ange.
See you guys
Congratulations.
next time.
It's just who we are, mate.